We are live. Holy smokes. It is episode 25 of the Coin Jam podcast. We've completed 2 full years already. I don't know how this train is still rolling down the tracks, but we're here. We're live. It's March. We're still not quite caught up from the holidays. I think we're going to try to do 2 episodes this month. So this is technically the February episode. We're kind of, trailing, lagging indicator, but we'll get caught up at some point. So welcome all of you to the Coin Jam podcast. I'm Charlie from Overtime Arcade. I am joined as always by my partners in Cade, Chance from the Canadian Arcade, Kay from Prime Arcade, and Liam from Retrobotics. Let's see what's going on in the live chat here. We've got Encore's Arcade. We've got Arcade Maze channel member. We've got Papa Sean 69 channel member tubing in from Peterborough, Ontario. Arcade Maze says prior to this, he was watching the Bubbles Nightmare. I don't know, it's sort of a fever dream, maybe. Also, I want to give a special thank you to before the episode, the live stream started, we got 2 new channel members, Synthetic Cheetah and Geach himself, Chris Dorr. They both joined, I think, from the live stream link, which is why it's showing up here in the live chat. So thank you, both of you, for becoming channel members. We also recently had Ken Colangelo just started. So thank you. Cameron Cardwell and Wayne, also channel members, are here. What's going on? Sprint Star is here, and we are off and we are rolling. So how are you guys doing?
Amazing. How about you?
Doing fairly well.
That's it. Come on, Blackbuster. Come on.
Kay's just got back from powerlifting, it looks like. All swole.
Oh, my monitor. Oh,
hey, folks, if you don't watch the live stream or at least the replay, you miss out on all of the tasty visual treats that watching us provide. So, because this, we call this a podcast, and technically it does get released as a podcast. We do this live. We do it in the live stream. Then you can watch it later, or you can, listen to the podcast wherever podcasts are listened to. I don't think we've ever gotten a single comment on Spotify, because technically Spotify is what we use to distribute all the podcast platforms. So originally it was Anchor.fm. And then, and what was nice about Anchor.fm was and is, it's totally free, and they will automatically upload your podcast to basically everywhere, right? Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, everything, right? Stitcher and everything, right? And then Spotify bought them and took it over and rebranded it as Spotify for Podcasters. Everything is the same. There hasn't been any negative changes, but no one has ever commented on us on Spotify or any of the audio versions. We get decent, I think, listenership. But if you're out there and listening to the audio version, feel free to reach out. I think maybe what happens is people that listen to the audio version, that's maybe how they discover the show, but then they go and actually watch the live stream or the rebroadcast to get all that flavor that
once they hear about the
tasty
visual treats, they decide that they have to.
Otherwise you're missing out, right?
Yeah. Or they're driving and they don't want to pull over onto the side of the road and respond.
So it's funny. Something that I do. So one of the features that you get from being a YouTube Premium subscriber, there's a bunch of you get no ads, right? It's a big one. One of the features the 2 features that I really like are, one, you can download videos and watch them offline, like on a flight or something, or I'll download them on Wi-Fi and then watch them when I'm not on Wi-Fi, not have to burn my data, because I have kids now on my cell phone plan, and they go through data like that, right? The other thing that I really like about YouTube Premium is you can play videos in the background, turn off your screen on your phone or go into another app. And so I listen to tons of stuff. I watch most YouTube content with audio only. That's how I consume most of my YouTube content. So while driving or whatever, I'll download stuff and I'll hit play, plug it into my car, hit play. And I've got the GPS stuff. I'm obviously not watching a video while driving. I'm just listening to it. I listen to a lot of history stuff and that sort of thing. So, and a lot of those are even podcasts anyway. They don't even have a video component. It's just maybe a single slide or a map that updates occasionally. Anyway, we're totally.
You watch YouTube just to listen to it? That's insane.
Yeah, I consume YouTube videos, but audio only.
I use YouTube mostly for audio as well. That's what I listen to while I'm at the shop.
That blows my mind. See, like we're in this house, we watch YouTube like it's our regular TV, like back in the day TV. Like we'll sit down, we've got it on all of the Apple TVs in the house, and we'll tune into like our favorite shows. We'll watch something on that while we're eating dinner or something, and then we'll switch over to something that we actually want to watch. This is later at night, right? But we do YouTube Premium so we don't have to watch the ads.
So something I found that's very interesting is so Brandon, who we've had on the podcast before, he streams on Twitch, Off-World Arcade. He goes by Deckard995. Most people know him as Advance13, permanently banned from Clav. So he is the Twitch streamer that I watch the most. And I realized Twitch has a feature where it has like almost like statuses for people in chat. And one of the statuses you can set yourself to is audio only. And that just blows my mind that you would just listen to Twitch and not watch it. Like I could see people just watching it with audio off, like if they're at work, right? And they've got Twitch on a second screen or something like that. But how can you really consume Twitch audio only unless it's someone just chatting, right? Because Twitch is almost entirely like gameplay
9-year-old
videos.
Video streamers.
Yeah. But as I'm seeing our viewership crater, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're sort of completely off topic. This is an arcade and pinball and coin-op gaming podcast, so we should get back on topic here. Who else do we have in the live chat? We've got Jay Peso and Back to the Media, Mark from Back to the Media Arcade, another channel member who just scored a pretty cool pickup. He just got a paper boy. Just got done unloading it off the truck with his wife Danny. That's awesome. Neil from Winnipeg, who got really strong Canadian representation as always here. Dominic is in the house. What's up? So yeah. So anyway, as I mentioned, this is our 25th episode, which means we've completed 2 full years of the Coin Jam podcast. Nobody thought we would get to a single year, let alone 2. The time has absolutely flown. One of the things we're going to do a little bit differently going forward, or at least experiment with today, is a slightly different way that we do updates. We've heard from quite a few folks that it's gotten stale. We take way too long getting through our sort of standard updates before even getting to the meat of the episode. However, one thing that you only get from looking at the data is viewership typically starts pretty slow and then ramps up, right? So we often are hitting our peak viewership as we're wrapping up. So take that for what it's worth. Maybe this will encourage people to join earlier. I think we're actually doing pretty good right now. Maybe late Sunday night is a good time slot. I think sometimes we're competing with Todd Tucky, Mr. TNT, or others. That's one of the reasons I avoid streams on Wednesday, because that's typically Brandon's time on Twitch. We've also got Random Billy Bob and Sean Kirkshank in the chat, also channel members, as well as Stephen Wallard, a good guy. And so the change that we're going to do, so we usually did like a round robin, four different sort of standard questions on updates, and then it would take a whole hour for us to get to the main topic. Instead, we're going to chop that up into 2 pieces. Basically, backwards looking updates and forward looking updates, stuff like what you've picked up, what you've been working on, what's the latest on your channel. And we'll do each of those one each, right? One at a time, and not sort of do multiple round robins. So you only get one pass to do it. And then we'll get to the main topics of the episode. And then at the end, we'll sort of have a look ahead. Hey, what's coming next on your channel? What's up next in your restoration queue?
All these rules.
So, I know, and these were actually Chance's rules. So even though he's still
why do I get blamed for this? No. We just literally want to get to the topics at hand, because nobody wants to sit and listen to our boring crap. What's new with us? They want to hear us talk about the topics. That's
you're still the FNG, and you will be until someone gets fired or whatever and is replaced.
Wait, we can get fired?
So, I mean,
yeah, you'll find out soon.
You've come close in the past. So as soon as that first letter I get from that first letter I get from the FCC, I know we've got a big Canadian audience, but hey, it's not worth It's not worth a copyright strike or something
You'll
like that.
be fine.
I mean, Chance was testing out some new sound effects on his soundboard in the green room, and you know, the WWE does tend to be litigious, so I wouldn't push them very hard. I think you're smart enough to avoid Disney, but we'll see. We'll see.
Hey,
we'll
that's
see what
banned in
happens.
Texas.
Yeah,
That is banned in Texas. Poor you.
Wayne points out that 1923 is on tonight. And I only watched the first couple of episodes. I liked was it 1885?
We're competing with the Oscars tonight too.
Oh, nobody watches that.
It's literally my job. I work in the.
Then why did you say you could do it tonight? You could do the
I can
podcast
watch the
tonight.
rebroadcast later.
Exactly.
It's
exactly.
fine. It's fine. I'm gonna
All
win
right.
the pool for my local union anyway. So
So so the topics we have for this. Oh wait, no, we haven't even done the updates yet. You're all in my head, Chance, and don't appreciate it. So as always, we'll talk about, you know, recent pickups, games that we've recently scored, like Mark getting that Paperboy, what you're currently working on, what's happening in your workshop. What's the latest from your channel? You know, what episodes have you released since the last podcast, that sort of thing. So I think we will go and get started, because I know I can see in the show notes that he has prepared is Liam from Retrobotics. What's new with Retrobotics, Liam?
Well, we haven't picked anything up, so we're just working on the things we've got. A lot of general maintenance. Been working on Tron. I put a free play ROM in. Kicks. I've been fixing the wiring harness because someone had hacked out the memory protect switches, so I put them all back. Lunar Lander finally wired up the coin door. Major Havoc's been resetting, so I've been trying to clean up some connections and fix that problem. Smash TV also has had some boot problems that were chronic, and been going ahead and working on that machine. I think I've nearly got it now. So just general maintenance, keeping things running. I have been working on the iRobot again. So I've been out in the garage now that it's getting a little warmer. I've been painting and working on installing the wiring harness. And the cabinet is nearing where I will be completely roadblocked by missing parts. So, you know, if anyone has those parts that I need, I desperately need them. But I'm hoping that iRobot will be one of the things that gets finished this year. As far as recent projects or recent media on our channel, we just did a video on the West Virginia arcade raid from a little while back, like 6 months ago. September, and where we had the food fight, and that was the only machine we kept off of that raid. So that turned out beautifully, and I'm really happy that it's in our current lineup. I played it tonight, so quite pleased with that. And we did do a video, I think, earlier on in February as well on the current state of Inferno. And Inferno just came out so beautiful. That one is awesome. So very, very happy with our current state of things. We do have a deal we're working on to maybe pick something up, but it all depends on how large of a crate can Fastenal ship. So we'll see where that goes.
The size of a truck, they can ship some pretty big things.
We'll see.
Yeah, but it costs more.
Yeah.
If like the whole thing with Fastenal is very, very economical way to ship a pallet of something. So you can ship more than that.
Let me tell you this. We already got one quote for this thing, and I was told that our local Fastenal could not handle a crate that large.
Why? Who did I ship that Formula 4 tub with? It was stupidly inexpensive. It was like old school arcade and pinball shipping rates. It was great. I have to look this up. Freightquote.com, I think it was.
So
do you have, Liam, do you have a Fastenal terminal on your side of the Beltway, or do you have to come all the way out to near me in Sterling?
I do have a terminal near me.
Okay.
20 minutes away. But I'm thinking that the one up in Baltimore is in a different region, so maybe they have different rules.
Liam, it was freightquote.com. Try that.
We'll see. Yeah.
Just it takes 5 seconds, fill it out, try it, because you might get something cheaper.
Well, and you did some rearranging. That's why you've got a different background here. You moved some games around.
Yeah.
Liam.
Yeah, we did do some rearranging, and that was to fit the Inferno. So all the 90s games, except for X-Men, got kicked out into the hallway. Pinball got moved around and consolidated, so now we have extra room for Williams games. There's a slot that is waiting for a Joust 2, hopefully. And I think we have about space for 6 more uprights in the main room.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I like that Solar Fox is very prominently displayed over your shoulder there.
It's a very cinematic look that you've got going with the new background. It took me forever to realize that you were on a green screen to begin with. But now I've got to say I like the new background.
The fact that the monitors didn't change what was being displayed didn't.
We've been over this. We can move on.
Okay. All right. Well, Kay, how about you? What have you picked up? What are you working on? I've seen there's been stuff coming out from your channel. What's happening?
So I actually got a machine today, even though it's my day off.
Stupid. Your boss is just a horrible.
It's funny, right? It's even funny you say that because most people have to take off of work to go get a game. But when this is your full-time gig, then yeah.
I say I got a call and they just brought it to me. But you know those brand new like reproduction machines that you can buy? It's just a 60-in-1, but they build a brand new like Galaga themed like Midway style cabinet.
Yeah,
with the wrong coin door and little things that we can tell.
A Dell monitor.
It's a Dell 19-inch like flat screen
plumber
monitor.
Strapping holding it up inside, but you can't tell.
It's not quite that bad, but it's just just a piece of plywood in there that's just strapped directly to, and inside it's
something else.
Inside it's just a 60-in-1 board and like just a switching power supply and like nothing else. But they sell those brand new for like $2,500, and it's all reproduction artwork, and it's all like the wrong color and all that. Apparently, some teenagers found one of those in an alleyway, and then sold it to me for super cheap because the monitor wasn't working.
Was it next to an 80-inch flat screen TV?
Yeah, and then I picked that up and made a video that got 1.5 million views. So I got one of those today for super cheap, and it's in immaculate condition. Like it looked like it just got uncrated and rolled right into the front door. Like there's a
maybe
tiny
it did.
scratch.
Those kids stole it.
Yeah, maybe it could be. Well, no, it's because since the monitor doesn't work, you can tell that someone tried to play it for at least an hour. But there's a tiny scratch in the artwork on the right side, and that's it. So, someone bought one of these, probably a year ago. The monitor went out. They're like, well, it's broken and it'll never work again. So they just threw it in the alleyway to get rid of it. And these kids saw it, threw it in their truck, and then sold it to me for cheap. So that's what I got today. That's pretty cool. I'm just going to put a different monitor in it and then sell it for 5 times what I bought for it. So that's not too bad.
Honest.
I mean, hey.
No.
Man's running a business.
They didn't have to tell me they found it in the alleyway either, but they did.
Yeah, get that paper.
I had mentioned either in the previous show or the one before that I had done a little mini warehouse raid in the next state over, where I bought some machines from an operator who had passed. His brother took over the place. I'd gone back to that place for a second run, picked up another truckload of machines. I got a Sega Turbo upright, a Virtua Fighter dedicated, a 2-player NFL Blitz, a couple of Pac-Mans, and a Combat Tribes, just a conversion cab.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious when the guy was talking to me on the phone about all these machines that he's basically trying to get me to come out for a second trip, and he's telling me all the stuff that he still had available. When he came to the Combat Tribes, he had no idea what it was, and he kept trying to tell me the name of the game, but he kept saying it differently every single time, and he said it wrong every single time, and it was adorable.
Let's hear him.
It was like I've got this Contra Ribes combat robes.
Maybe he just had a speech impediment. Now you're making fun of him on the internet.
No, because every other word he said was correct, but when he came to Combat Tribes, it was just different every single time.
Huh.
I love the Facebook Marketplace listings where people do that, and they just like you can tell they like the artwork you know, it's not a very like, you know, Pango is very blocky font, right? Like, you know, you could even see someone getting Robotron wrong, right? From looking at the funky font. People are kind of like Galaga, they constantly mess up.
Yeah, I've got
Love
a
it.
Robot Ron. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I got
it's
that
amazing.
Galaxy game.
I've heard Robot Ron before. That was
Yeah, good old Robot Combat Rabies. Yeah, just there. Yeah, absolutely.
Combat Rabies.
Yeah,
Arcanau.
if I hadn't seen it the first time I was there, it would have taken me a while to figure out what he was trying to say, but I knew what he was talking about. So I picked those up, and everything except the Sega Turbo has already been fixed, and either sold or is currently for sale in the showroom right now. And I've got videos on most of those too.
Huh.
I also got a call from the local Boys and Girls Club. They had a few machines that had been donated to them that were all busted projects that I ended up going and picking up on the cheap. I got a Miss Pac-Man, a Centipede, and a Bally Star Trek pin. That
Ooh,
would pick
Oh,
those
nice.
up.
that's a good game.
Does
It's
that have
second
the
Star
like
Trek pin.
spinning
picked up.
transporter in the back glass?
That's a really good.
No, it doesn't.
I think I've got some new old stock ramps for that actually.
No, this one doesn't have any ramps.
No, like there's
Or am
a
I
subway
thinking of
in
the-
it, or
Was I thinking of the
No.
Data East Star
No,
Trek?
this is the 1978 one.
okay. There's like what 4 different?
Yeah,
I
there's
gotta
like 4 or
look this up.
5 different Star Trek pins. This would be
not the
first
wide
one.
body, not the Genesis Next Generation, not that one. We
No,
had
no,
ramps
no.
for that one.
No, the
I've got-
1993. No,
I've got
I've
TNG.
had one of those too, but no, this is the 1978 Bally Star Trek, which would be the second Star Trek I've got in the shop. The first one is Inko is in the middle of restoring right now. The side art's halfway done. She's got the base coat down. Next time she comes down, we're going to do the stencils. But so this is the second one that's in the shop. But cosmetically, it's not too bad. The playfield's not great, but the back glass is okay. And
There are 5 Star Trek pins.
I've got the first one.
You have the second one.
Really?
What's
There's-
the fifth one?
Gottlieb made a 1971 game called Star Trek. It's not actually like
You
it's
see, I don't
kind of-
think, yeah, that doesn't count. 'Cause
That doesn't
it's-
count. Okay, but Star Trek from 79, Data East Star Trek from 91, Next Generation from 93.
Yeah,
and then
the JJ.
Stern, yeah, the JJ Abrams Stern Pro LE and Premium, and apparently there's a homebrew one called Star Trek Mirror Universe, but that shouldn't count.
That's like somebody rebadging or retheming Next Gen as a DS9 pin.
Yeah,
No.
that doesn't count.
So
Anyways,
I have a video on redoing the Centipede because the Centipede actually worked. It didn't look great, but it worked, and so I did a partial restoration on it, and it's currently up for sale. The Miss Back is pretty rough. The monitor is necked, so the monitor is no good, but it did play blind, so the board's good, and the rest of the internals are good. So I'll have to do a lot of work on the artwork and replace that CRT, but it did play blind. The Star Trek, the cord had been cut, so I don't know what kind of shape the boards are in, but they didn't look too terrible. I didn't see a whole lot of battery damage or anything like that, so I was kind of curious if I replaced that cord, what kind of shape it would be in if I plugged it in, but I hadn't done that yet, so don't tell what kind of shape it's in. But right now it's in the pile along with a lot of other stuff, so one day I'll find out.
Nice.
Right on. And yeah, just checking the chat again. We've got a couple more channel members checking in. Russ, Penner Station, and Mosaic, aka Kacheru311, aka Steve Lady, who's been on the channel as a guest before. And as Cameron Cardwell points out, we've got an appearance by Captain Retro, who I think this is the first time he's been in the chat. So welcome. Thank you, Captain Retro. He's got a cool YouTube channel you guys should check out too, especially with pinball and arcade machines. Captain Retro says, just watched your termite infested bubbles episode. Did the same thing to a Valley Vector pinball last week. Yeah, those terrible termites. Hired Gun is here too, another channel member checking in. So Chance, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you've been doing while you're supposed to be at work?
Well, I'm not supposed to be at work anymore. Josh and I have finally wrapped on the Paramount Plus show that we were working on. So now, since I think like April, we've been working pretty hardcore, and April, May, something like that. And so now we have a couple weeks, a month, couple months maybe until the next show fires up. We've been talking to a couple of people, but anyway, so we've got some free time on our hands, and what that means is new Canadian arcade content. And I can get some stuff done around the house. So as of this morning, I finished cleaning up a bunch of different things around my house. So I got that out of the way. And then in the afternoon, I got the Eldorado pinball machine back together. So my Eldorado, the playfield fully restored, looks brand new. The Eldorado is completely
Does it work?
finished. It does work. Yes. The ball trough kick is a little weak, so I got to fix that. And there's still a problem with the 10-point scoring, but I think that's future chance problems. The cabinet itself needs a full restoration, but again, future chance problems. In fact, I've already been given an offer for the game, so I may or may not exercise said offer and just make a little bit more room for the racing sim.
If someone's willing to pay you actual money for an EM pin, I say you take it.
Dude, it is an amazingly nice. Like I feel like I outdid myself on this. I'm very, very happy with the work that I did. It only took me 6 years to do, and I guess it was spurred on like
faster than some people.
Yeah, but it's spurred on by like 5 months ago when I decided to actually just get that project out of the way. Cody, a good buddy of ours who's always on the YouTube channel, he always joked, and Josh as well, they always joked this was my retirement project, but it's pretty much half done now because the hardest part is done. So Eldorado pin done, dusted, as far as I'm concerned, out of the way, working. Posted some stuff on the Canadian Arcade Instagram story today, so you can actually see it. And then that Ms. Pac-Man that I picked up last month.
Best game ever.
So admit it, you're falling for it now.
Okay, in the green room.
Admit
before,
it, you're
okay.
It's pretty good.
You know,
I mean,
okay.
I don't know if you can really see it very well, but
Look at that.
Look
at that ink.
You eat
Wow.
your words, okay? Just
So for
eat
those
the
of you who are
words.
listening to the podcast while Chance changes the
I
subject,
thought you were going to put that on your.
what? Kega has a Ms. Pac-Man tattoo. Okay, so all joking aside, I have been on record for many times and many years said that Ms. Pac-Man and Gallagher are two of the worst games ever. And I think that's a very, very like hot take, and it is a touchy subject for some. But I feel that like I think they're just a little overdone. It's just me, but I can report that now that I have a dedicated Ms. Pac-Man in the house, out of necessity for, wanting to make money with it, I can say that honestly, I can see what y'all see in the game. So I'm not going to say it's the worst.
Y'all meaning literally billions of quarters that have been dumped into those machines.
Yeah, y'all.
First step is admitting you have a problem.
Oh, we're far beyond me admitting I have a problem. Let's be honest. So I've got to say, in all honesty, it's an interesting game. I can see why people like it. I can see why people get addicted to it. Like some of my best friends, our buddy Craig, like dude's like a 675,000 point Ms. Pac-Man player. Like,
so how much Ms. Pac-Man have you been playing?
Not much, actually. I've been doing other things around the house, but like this guy's so good at Ms. Pac-Man that
Didn't you listen to his updates? He cleaned his house.
Yeah, exactly. Craig's so good at Ms. Pac-Man that like there's a tournament here every year where one of the local burger joints downtown has like you win free burgers for life. And he's won that tournament so many years in a row that they're forcing him to retire because so he's always been like, Chance, like I've known him for like the better part of 15 years. He's always been like, Chance, you got to get him Ms. Pac-Man. You got to get him Ms. Pac-Man. I'm just like, meh. But now I have one. And I can say I respect y'all that love the game. I can see where you're coming from. It's not on my favorites list, and it's not going to be anytime soon. But I do enjoy it to some degree now. Anyway, that's it for me for updates. Just want to keep it short and sweet.
All right. Well, good. Let's see. What have I been doing? So still, even though we're now already into March, no pickups yet this year. I still do have, however, those 2 trade pickups pending, but not in any hurry. I did, though, earlier today release, as we were already talking a little bit, the Bubbles pickup video. I actually picked up that game back in June, so I've teased it a little bit. And yes, I picked up maybe 96% of a Bubbles because it had been attacked at some point by termites. So that was interesting. Bubbles just so happens to be the weekly tournament game of the week and the channel member Discord. So I know a lot of folks have been having fun playing that. I played it on. I put my J-Rock Multi-Williams into my horizontal JAMA cabinet. So yeah, I got a Bubbles now, and a little bit intimidated about what I'm going to do to fix it. I know some folks have been really trying to convince me to just replace the whole side panel. Because one side I think is pretty solid, and yeah, so we'll see what we do with that. I did last month finish the Sidam Bosconian cabinet, so the Italian version of Bosconian. That's totally done. I think maybe at some point I might change up the joystick setup, but totally done. That needs to come down to the basement. It's probably going to be backed up back to back behind the Deco Burger Time cabinet, which is also a BitKit cabinet, so that should be fitting. I started last week fixing a Amplifone vector monitor, a 19-inch Amplifone color vector monitor in a Star Wars cabinet that's been in the background of my garage for months. That actually belongs to Mark from Back to the Media Arcade, who's been in the chat. I'm not doing a restoration, and the cabinet doesn't belong to me, but Mark was asking if I could take a crack at the amp, and I've never messed with an Amplifone monitor before, so we're going nice and slow and steady. I've mostly rebuilt the deflection board, and I'll move to the flyback and the XY board, or the HV board next. I've still been testing more flybacks for arcadepartsandrepair.com. One thing I am pretty happy to announce is it looks like he has a good reproduction of the Geo7 FBO flyback, the 13-inch Geo7 flyback, which I know a lot of people have been waiting for. Tested that out in my cabin, and I thought in my monitor, I thought there was an issue, but it's actually either that's just there's a little funkiness. If you adjust something a weird way, you get a pincushion effect. But that I put the original OEM flyback back in, and that's true with that flyback. So it's not from the repro. So either that's just a feature of the FBO chassis, or just a quirk of my particular chassis. But that's working totally good. So hopefully that should be available soon, and that means that'll be just a drop-in FBO flyback. I know you can get a 19-inch Geo7 flyback to work in an FBO, but you have to like do something to it. I don't know, but that'll be good. And yeah, that's the latest for me. So how do you guys feel about this new setup? I feel like we're flying through the episode.
Yeah,
is this good?
Yeah,
are we getting to our main topic? No.
In under 30 minutes.
We have to acknowledge the live chat, though.
That's fine.
Great. Captain Retro has been really active here. We've also got Texas JYT, Thor KC. I don't know what that is. Is that spam? What is that? Are those like Bitcoin seeds?
No.
I don't know what that is.
He thought this was the calculator app.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that.
Anthony Presley, very frequent commenter on my channel, says he liked the food fight video from Retrobotics. And yeah, rock and roll. Okay, so let's get to it. And I think, was it Kay? Did you suggest this? Or did Chance find it on the Discord or something? Anyway, we're going to break this up into 3 different parts. The first
he suggested the first part. I suggested the second part.
Okay, I want no part in this until the ship actually sails.
Okay.
I don't want blame.
Too bad. You've been well behaved though. Nobody's had to donate to mute your mic yet. But anyway, so first main topic. Hold on. First main topic is basically the ones that got away. We're talking specifically about games here. Pins, arcade machines, whatever, something that you've been chasing and you thought you got it only to be skunked at the last minute. Somebody outbid you, or you were, you saw the posting 3 minutes after it went up, but you were second in line for the deal of a lifetime. And whether it's a game that you just absolutely have always wanted and have never been able to get, or it was just an incredible deal on a game that you wanted. Let's talk about the crushing disappointments that have broken all of our hearts. Perhaps Liam, why don't you go first? Tell us about the times that you've been absolutely devastated as a collector.
I mean, there's two different categories for this, right? There are the games that you're looking for that come up every now and then, and you may or may not be able to get them. And then there are the grails you're looking for. So I'll go with a couple of each. So for games I'm looking for, one of the top items on our want list is Star Wars, specifically a Star Wars with an Amplifone monitor. And these come up, right? Star Wars is a pretty common game. Atari made a ton of them, and they come up frequently. But there's this triangle here, and the triangle is it a decent price for a Star Wars? Do I have the money to buy that Star Wars? And is it within close enough distance for me to actually get that Star Wars? And so far, I've had multiple instances of every two distinct pairs of vertices on that triangle coming up, but never all three necessary for me to get the Star Wars at that time. I've probably seen 5 or 6 different candidates, and so far nothing has panned out for Star Wars. Eventually I will get one, but so far it seems they have avoided me.
And you've tried to buy Mark's a couple times.
Yes, I did try to buy Mark Star Wars like twice before you started.
I did tease Liam because I just let it. I used to hide games in my garage. So way back when I would literally put like a moving blanket over the game so that when my kids would like throw their bikes and stuff, there would be less risk of stuff like break-in or whatever. And then it just got too unwieldy. But I would often like hide games that I hadn't done pickup videos yet to sort of, spoil the surprise, but I can't do it anymore. And so things have just been like that. Popeye's been hiding in the background, right, for a while. And then Liam noticed that the Star Wars was there. And he was like, all excited. What's that? What did we like? Oh yeah, you didn't see it. It was like $100. It was like 10 minutes from your house. I figured you didn't want it, but
yeah, no. Eventually, I'll find one. And as far as grails have gotten away, there have been plenty of times where something that I desperately want has come up, but I know there's no way I could reasonably afford it. Like if a Cosmic Chasm comes up for 12 grand, like that's just a thing that happens. It's a force of nature. I can't do anything about it. It's going to somebody else with deep pockets, despite how much I want that game. And those of you who know me well know that I like weird and interesting technical machines. The harder it is to fix, the better. They're like the weirdest mechanisms. One of these is Dark Planet, Stern's machine. It's not a particularly great game, but it's like a technological masterpiece. They've got a 3D play field stuck in the back of the machine. The monitor's mounted upside down in the cabinet. They've got like 5 different mirrors and additional color filters necessary to generate a 3D effect.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah.
I desperately want to tear apart one and like see for myself how it works and get to really go down deep into the history of that game and the mechanisms behind it. And I almost had the chance to do so. Somebody reached out to me months ago, probably almost a year ago, with a Dark Planet that they had. They had found it in a warehouse and gave me an astoundingly good deal on it. Like crazy good. But the problem is I just couldn't. I did not have the loose cash at the time to buy the Dark Planet. And I had to pass on it. And I regret doing that. I should have sold something. Like should have sold anything in the collection that I knew I could have gotten again to get that Dark Planet. And I realized that that's really what I should do in a situation like that, because a joust, I can get another joust, right? They come up. I could even sell Joust and Robotron or Asteroids or whatever, and they come up again. But Dark Planet is not going to come up again, especially for what I was offered, which would not even be the most expensive game that we've bought. So that is definitely the one like.
So why didn't you sell the Joust and Robotron?
Because I didn't think of it at the time.
You should have moved on that, man. Like
you're telling the choir, man. This is the grail that got away for a reason. I think about it a lot.
Yeah.
This is anytime someone comes to like, what is the game that you missed out on? It's Dark Planet. I think about Dark Planet. That's the one that comes to mind.
Well, and I just want to acknowledge and thank Papa Sean 69 for a $200 million Canadian donation, although he doesn't want to mute Chance's mic. So we'll actually do the opposite, and we'll have Chance go next once Liam's done. Because I think there was, weren't there a couple more examples of things like these, Liam?
Joke's on you. That's like 35 cents American now.
I'm sure there are a few others. I mean,
$1.57.
Oh,
there are definitely rare games that I had the opportunity to take, but they were more market price, like a Joust 2 or stuff like that. The Dark Planet really sticks out as this was something that was offered explicitly to me before going on the public market, and it was offered to me at a great price, and I was an idiot not for doing it, and now I don't get to mess with that game in any reasonable time frame. I see Mosaic in the chat saying that just because it's rare doesn't mean it's good. That is true. Dark 100%. Planet is not a good game. It is a failure for a reason.
It's weird too,
but I like it for its weirdness. I have enjoyed playing it because it's unlike anything else, and that is what I am interested in. I like learning things about the games that we get. I like trying to dissect and understand how they function, how they work. That's one of the greatest enjoyments I get out of the hobby, and because of that is why I think Dark Planet would be a great candidate for our collection here.
Every time I hear somebody mention Dark Planet, my mind immediately thinks they're talking about Escape from the Planet of the Robot Monsters, and then I have to deliberately tell myself, no, it's a different game.
That's also a really good game, though.
I do want one of those also.
Yeah. Huh.
What about Paperboy, Liam?
Yeah, Paperboy. We've had a couple of those go through as well, but what I really want to do with Paperboy is build a proto cabinet. I want to convert a trash Jedi and turn it into a Paperboy.
That'd be cool.
Just because I really like the look of that, and I like the pedestal cabinets. We've got 3 of them here. I want to complete the set. Like I said, I'm trying to finish that iRobot, and that's been a problem in of itself, trying to find all the pieces for that iRobot. If anyone's got
But Return of the Jedi is the best game in the Star Wars trilogy.
True.
I mean, it is the best Zaxxon clone of the Star Wars games, but I'll give it that.
Shots fired.
But anyway, yeah, no. As far as Grails that got away, I would say Dark Planet. Grails that were a disaster, Star Trek, but Dark Planet is definitely the one that got away. I'll let Chance go.
Yeah, because Papa Sean 69 donated.
That's a hell of a transition. I'll just let Chance go. I'm good.
Well, I can keep talking about Dark Planet, but
no. Well, because you brought it up that one time, I was like, oh wow, this is actually really cool. I gotta say, okay, so just for clarification from earlier, I think when we were chatting about topics for this show, I want to throw this back to Fetish Boy, Sean Fetish Boy, because he posted a thread in Clove called Grails That Were Not to Be. And I think that was the impetus for my suggestion on this was, he's been in the hobby for so long, and what has he missed out on? What has he not seen? And that's kind of where I'm at with this, because up here in Calgary, Alberta, we don't have, the amazingness that would be, the Chicago area, the Illinois or Seattle, Redmond, or California. We don't have these like meccas of the arcade game past. We do have a couple of things up here in like Saskatchewan. I think it was Regina. Wayne's gonna have to remind me in the chat what it was like Wonderland Arcade or something in Regina. They were a Nintendo distributor, so like we've got all these stories of them having 1 million red tents. So like we have almost everybody I know here in the Calgary area has a red tent, and I've got 2. So like one's in pieces, but still I know that's a grail for a lot of people. But here, we don't have that luxury, right? And we're just the vast amount of spaces. So I gotta import these games, like my Sheriff. My Sheriff was a grail for me. I almost missed out on that. I'd import that from Phoenix. And so really, when it comes to grails that got away, it's mostly things here that when they go up, someone else locally in the collection or a collector community will grab them. But we don't have, there's a lot of games that we just don't see here. Like we didn't see a tapper. It's been 10, it was like 7 years in the hobby. And I hadn't seen a tapper local except for one. And it went for some stupid money on Kijiji.
Versus tappers are available here all the time. They're just often overpriced.
Yeah. But I mean, it was a good game. They made a lot of them. But like that to us, for my wife.
And I'm not going to mute you, but I will cut you off and say thank you to John Kawaru5 for a $49.99 billion super chat donation. He says, please don't mute, just want to support and probably make Charlie mad. I do get mad at John because he donates way too much and he's way too supportive of the channel and the podcast and everything. John's an awesome guy.
Yes, how dare
One of the
he?
reasons he's also what's that?
How dare he?
I know. He's also very active in the Discord and posts really cool stuff. He just sent a couple pictures tonight of his workbench set up and the games he's got over there. So very
awesome,
cool. John,
awesome guy for sure. I mean,
thank
our
you,
food
John.
fight would not be alive without him either.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
All right. Sorry, I didn't mute you, Chance, but I did interrupt you.
See, look, that's 2 donations and no muting. This new format's great. So yeah,
You're welcome.
right. So anyway, I was in the hobby for 6-7 years at the time, and I realized that we're never going to see a tapper here, or a tapper that's cheap. So I was like, you know what, to heck with it. I'm just going to scratch build one. So that's kind of where I've been going with the Grails. There's been one thing that has been eluding me since the start of this hobby, and that is an ice cold beer. Josh, my
Aren't you drinking one right now?
No, yeah. So Josh Brown on the Canadian Arcade will always remind me that, like, probably like 6 months before we started the channel, like around the time when we met, or just before when we met, he saw an ICB show up on Kijiji here locally in Calgary for like $600 Canadian, $600 or $800, like something stupidly cheap. And like, I just, it's like the one game that's going to finish my list. And I'm kind of to the point now where I'm either just going to, buy one of the brand new ones from Brian from Paradise Arcade,
Or by the one from K.
or buy the one from K.
The one that's still sitting there and I haven't done anything with.
Yeah, that you haven't touched.
Isn't there a Zeke? Would you settle for a Zeke's Peak? I think there's one for sale right now.
So I don't really like, if I got a Zeke's Peak, I would retheme it, because like I don't really want a Zeke's Peak. Something about tapper ice cold beer. Like, I got a chance to play. Vanessa and I were in Paris, France, 2016.
Not Paris, Texas.
Not Paris, Texas. We were in Paris.
I've been to both. Trust me, there's a difference.
There's a difference. Yeah, one smells like urine. One's Texas.
One's got better barbecue.
Yeah,
that's true too.
I love. I rag on Paris, but we've got some really good friends there that have Coin Op Legacy, and I got a chance. We did a video on this like years ago in the Canadian Arcade. I got a chance to play their like new in box ice cold beer. That game is phenomenally good when it's brand new, when all the belts and everything, it's perfect. And then a friend of ours here in town, Al, him and I do a lot of horse trading with our games and parts and stuff. He's got a nice cold beer. So they're very close, but I just feel like it's always getting away from me. It's always just like within arm's reach. And that's not a game that you go and you make, from scratch, like I did with my wife's tapper. But yeah, so that's kind of on the list. There are other.
Brian did.
Yeah, well, at scale, manufacturing scale. There are 2 other games on the list for me that I wouldn't say, oh, that's the stupid. Yeah. There are 2 other games on the list for me that would classify as grails, but I haven't really got away from me yet. I'm just waiting for the day that they show up. And one is Sega Trimline Cocktail, right? So what was that? Carnival?
Any of them? Carnival?
Any of them? It doesn't matter. The worst condition, the better. Because I have been saving. I'm not gonna. If I do finally find one, I'm not going to be restoring it. to a Sega cabinet. For those who know that I'm a big time Nintendo nerd. And Sheriff is probably one of my favorite games. I really want to make a reproduction of the Sheriff trim line. So like there's only one that we know of. It's over in Europe. It's in England. And so I've got most of the parts to make that now, except for a spare board set and the art kit. So like I've got some spare pods, I've got some spare controllers, everything. So that's kind of like what I'm hoping for, is one of those to show up. I've been very close a couple of times, but they just don't seem to exist in Alberta.
What's the cheapest one? Like Head On, maybe?
Maybe.
I'm
But so
looking through
that will be, that's kind of that's gotten away. And then the other like pseudo grail that's kind of gotten away, or that I've been so very close to, still in the Sheriff world. A lot of people aren't aware of this, but there have been a lot more than just 3 or 4 sheriffs that we see. In fact, there were 3 sheriffs at one time up in central Alberta. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm pointing because that way's north from where I am, from where I'm sitting. I'm facing north in my office. So central, you gotta, that's okay. So there was an old operator, or there still is an old operator up in central Alberta. We've talked about this guy many times. He had 3 Sheriff upright cabinets back in the day, and they were converted at one point or another. And I know this because A, he told me before he passed away, and B, because I have a bunch of parts from the 3
this
of them.
This is like a movie, right?
Yeah.
Some as his dying words.
You
must find it.
You gotta get the Sheriff uprights. No, but so at one point or another, John converted them to something else, and they went out into the ether. And they're floating around Western Canada, or have been destroyed by now. Who knows? But I'm waiting for that one day when, like, I open up Facebook Marketplace, or I get a link from a friend saying, like, "Hey, look at this arcade for sale." And it's like, I instantly will know that silhouette. It's been painted with black house paint. I'll just know that's the Sheriff upright. So it's out there. They're here. We got to get them. We got to find them. One day they will be there.
Been knocking door to door.
Yeah.
Asking, have you seen this cabinet?
Have you? Just a little wanted ad. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for me with Grails that have kind of got away. I don't really like games that are duds. We haven't
gotten to that. You're reading ahead.
Not going there
yet?
I'm going ahead.
No.
Okay.
No. I also want to acknowledge again, going back to Kawaru's donation. This is his what did it say? His 5th ever super chat on a live stream, and I think they've all been on the podcast, or at least on one of my live streams. So again, John, thank you. You are far too kind. So for me, I actually don't have a ton of examples of this, ones that got away, because I'm cheap, right? So for me, it's more like a great deal that I missed out on, right? So unless I've got a whole bunch of repressed memories of games that were, grails that I wasn't able to get, one that stands out pretty early on, and this would have been like the 3rd or 4th game that I ever bought, but it didn't happen, was a working Punch Out for $75, like half an hour from my house. This is one of those, I was the second person to respond to the ad. So that would have been cool. Punch Out for $75, but that's not on my, I would, get one, but I don't know if I want to Punch Out and a Play Choice 10. That takes up a lot of space. I've had some opportunities to get Spy Hunters. So right now, especially now that I've gotten Bubbles, or at least kind of a Bubbles, the number one top game on my wish list would be Spy Hunter, right? And in particular, I would really, really, really like to get a sit down, like cockpit, basically Spy Hunter, and I want to restore it, because to me that's the biggest part of the hobby, is fixing these things, and that's not a cheap restoration. So ideally, it would be like a very light restoration, complete, and for like I would go up to like $300 for that, right?
Wasn't it the seat on that was like really, someone made a reproduction at one point in time, but it was like really hard to get?
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Phoenix does have the complete art package back in stock. That took a while. and I've seen Spy Hunters come available. I think the best I saw recently was one literally at a working in a bar in Brooklyn for $1,000. Like, you know, it had the unrestored survivor and it had plenty of miles on it, right? And it just so happened I was literally in New York City that week, but the seller never replied to me, and I think that thing sat up for months afterwards. And I talked to, might have been Troy from Troy's Restorations. He had a buddy that was going after it and was in touch with the seller, but the seller said that he told that guy that he was fielding offers in excess of the asking price, which is not unsurprising. I also turned down a Spy Hunter cockpit or sit down, but it had been stripped. It was down to bare wood, and it was not even in good condition for that. And it would cost more to restore that than to just buy a working restored Spy Hunter sit down.
Wasn't there a complete one in Ohio a few months back as well for like $1,000 or less?
That might be one of those repressed memories. I can't remember. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, so that's it for me. And Chance, since you really were excited to get to it,
hey,
we
didn't talk about Kay didn't go. I'm sorry.
No,
sorry. Kay, Chance was
utter
so
chaos
eager.
here with the new format.
This is your fault again. This is your fault, new guy, for making us jump ahead. So sorry, Kay. My apologies. Why don't you sort of be our transition? Why don't you be the last person to answer this first part, and the first person to answer the next part, which is kind of the flip side.
That's right, Chance. You were so excited. Now you're getting bumped.
The things that you caught, the grails that you scored, and then you regretted your decision. You're
That's
like,
right.
You know, sometimes the dog catches the car, and be careful what you wish for. So why don't you give us both of those answers?
All right. So I wrote down 4 titles that were deals that eluded me. One of them wasn't a deal that eluded me. It was more of a one that I had and let go that I regret, that everyone here should know about. It was the RoboCop pinball that I sold.
Yeah, you should have kept that.
Well, it was at a time that I kind of had to sell it because that was very early on in the business, and I needed to pay bills.
Fair.
And I didn't know I liked the game that much when I had it. So it's one of those that you didn't know what you had until it's gone. So yeah, I missed that RoboCop, and other than the one that the couple that Liam sent me that are way across the country.
So weren't you guys going to do something where Chance was going to source a RoboCop pin, and you guys were going to trade that for an ice cold beer?
I've been trying to find one. I thought there was one here, but it was I was mistaken.
You say Liam found one in where? What, Michigan?
Michigan?
I don't know. Get Fastenal.
Yeah, but I do miss the RoboCop, but I'm not seeking one that hard. If one comes across, that lands in my lap, I'll grab it. But I'm not going to drive to Michigan to get one, and I'm not going to pay for shipping to have one come across the country for me. So if I find one locally that I can go get, then I'll go get it. But I don't know if I'd call that one a grail. But if I do find one, I'll buy it. There are 3 other titles that I have had opportunities to buy fairly recently, and they all slipped through my fingers. They were all on online auctions, and they all ended up being outside my price range. They were all online auctions that were within driving distance. They were all outside of like Austin area, so about 5-hour drive for me. So I could go pick them up and bring it back within a day. But I am a big fan of rhythm games, particularly ones made by Bimani, which was the rhythm game section of Konami. So the guys that made Dance Dance Revolution. I have a Drum Mania, which is a drum simulator that's made by the same company. And they made a slew of other rhythm games as well. And 2 of the titles that I would really, really like, one of them is called Dance Maniacs, which is very similar to Dance Dance Revolution, although instead of stepping on arrows, you have sensors that kind of stick out. You stand in front of it, and there's sensors that kind of stick out, and you have 2 above you and 2 that are kind of at waist level. And there's like invisible infrared beams that you wave your hands in front of to break. And as you wave your hands, like you're kind of hitting the notes. So you're just waving your hands like this, and you look dumb as hell while you're doing it, but that's how you do it.
Opposed to
You look even dumber than playing DDR, because
Okay.
at least then you kind of look like you're dancing, but this you just look like you're conducting an orchestra, I guess. But it's ridiculously fun, and I really enjoy that game. And I haven't played one in years, and I hadn't seen one even just in a very long time. And I've seen 2 pop up in auctions recently, and they both went for far more than I was willing to pay. And they just kind of slipped through my fingers as I was bidding on them. And I knew that I probably wasn't going to find another one, but even though I bid up to more than I was willing to pay, and they kept going up and up. And I just, even at those prices, like I couldn't justify it, so I had to let them go.
Well, and I have a question I want to ask you about that, but before I do, I want to say a huge thank you to Texas J YouTube for a $20 trillion super chat donation. I'm assuming TX means Texas and not transmission or something. So K is a neighbor of yours from the Lone Star State. Jay says, I can understand Chance's stance on ice cold beer. Think about it. Ice plus beer plus Canada. It just makes sense. So thank you, Texas Jay, for your super chat.
I'm laughing more at his avatar.
Yeah, according to his avatar, he wants to know where all the white women at.
Blazing Saddles is an amazing film.
Yeah, so for those of you listening, that was a movie reference.
Yeah.
But so Kay, my question for you is, right, this topic is steeped in emotion, right? Like, you know, the whole loss and devastation and heartbreak. This, you know, is not just a hobby. This is a business for you. So do you take more of a cold, calculated approach? And for you, is it more of a, hey, that's an opportunity that I lost? Or is the collector in you still, you know, feeling that heartbreak?
That is one that would be solely for me, because this, like the machines that I'm talking about in this instance would be purely for me. They would not be to resell. I had mentioned in the last episode I was on that I had bought back the Fighting Mania. I bought that back for me.
Yeah.
And so that's sitting at the shop, and it's going to stay there. I would bring it here to the apartment, but it's literally too large to fit through the door. So it has to stay at the shop for now. But I bought that back because I regretted selling
bigger
it in the first
doors.
place, but well, it's an apartment. I can't exactly get a bigger door. I don't think they'll let me do that. But when I buy a house, yeah, I'll get a
ask for forgiveness, not permission. Just like Mosaic buying what was it, Virtual On?
Yeah, that's too big to fit through a door too. Once I buy a house, I'll make sure I have a door large enough to fit it through. But I bought that back for me, and I don't intend to let it go again. But Dance Maniacs certainly would. Well, that's certainly too large to fit through a door, because that does not come apart. But yeah, I would be buying that back for me. That would not be a business opportunity. That would not be an investment. That would be just for me to enjoy, to buy, and then to never let go. And if you want to talk about emotional pain, there's a lot of physical pain involved in that game too, because the way those sensors come out and the way that you're waving your hands, if you are not particularly paying attention, you can karate chop those sensors and break your hand, because there's no give in those things. And if you're waving your hands like crazy, you can smash your hand on them. I've done it many times. I've watched people do it many times.
I can just picture the developers. I can just picture the developers of that game. It's like, you're going to pay us $0.25 and you're going to enjoy it, or we're going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm. There's lots of warnings all over that game saying we're not liable for injuries. So that's a game that I very much enjoy, and I have not seen in a very long time. Another rhythm game that they came out with that's in the same series as the Drum Mania that I have is a Keyboard Mania. They only came out with 3 versions of it, and the last one came in like
piano keyboard. I was thinking because
no, not like Typing of the Dead. Not like Typing of the Dead, although that is a fun game too. No, it is
classic.
It is
in teaches typing, but you pay $1.
No. It is a piano that has 2 full octaves, and think Guitar Hero, but it is 26 keys.
Wow.
And so you are playing basically the same songs that you would play on like DDR or Drum Mania or whatever, but you are playing them on a 2-octave keyboard. And so it's whenever you get to the higher difficulties of that game, it is a very difficult game. And whenever you get to like the highest difficulties, you have to be basically able to play an actual piano to be able to play that game with any amount of skill. And I haven't played one of those in nearly 20 years, and it's a fantastic game, and I really miss it.
So being a rhythm game enthusiast such as you are, okay, what percentage of your wardrobe would you say is sleeveless T-shirts?
That's just because I live in Texas, and my shop is a poorly insulated warehouse with no air conditioning. So about 50%. My standard work uniform is tanks and basketball shorts. And since I live in Texas, that's my uniform 8 months out of the year.
You're
visual flavor.
Dress code. Yeah, your boss setting that dress code. Good on him.
Yeah. Say I have a swamp cooler that is used 8 months out of the year. It's March, and yeah, that's what I'm wearing.
But Kay, how about the flip side of this, right? The games that you always wanted that you did finally score, and then you're like, wait a second, this game is terrible.
Well, we're almost there. I've got one more.
Now who's getting ahead? Huh?
Yes, yeah. Slow your roll, son. So there's one other game that came up recently in auction that I wanted to pick up, but did not, and it was an Atari Warlords.
Oh.
I know
those keep popping up everywhere.
I know everyone talks about
two
one.
People on Discord just got
not the cocktail.
Sorry, hold on. Are you being? I haven't been watching the.
Let's talk about the upright.
Yeah, I'm talking about the upright. Everyone wants the cocktail, right? Because it's the 4-player version. I want the upright.
Have you played the
Jeffrey
upright?
Mays just got one, and who else got one?
I have played the upright.
Okay. As somebody who owns a 4-player cocktail and has played the upright, because we had one on set for The Last of Us, they're like, stop making fun of my hand gestures. They are completely different games. Like, you really want the upright over the cocktail? I want to know your reasoning for this.
I want the upright over the cocktail because of nostalgia.
Okay.
It's beautiful also.
Yeah.
First of all, it's a great looking cabinet, and like I love the way the monitor
that
looks.
3D effect is
cool. Oh yeah, that looks fantastic. There was a Warlords at the first arcade I ever worked at. And we had some very intense games of Warlords on that cabinet.
Fair.
And so one of my best friends, he was the best man at my wedding. Passed away a few years ago. We had some very intense games on that cabinet, and so I have a lot of very intense memories of that game, and I would like one of those. And
an intense memory on the. Oh, you would like to? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would like to relive those memories on that cabinet.
Yeah.
It was only a few months ago, like 2 or 3 months ago, that it came up at one of those auctions. And this particular machine was it was fully restored. It was beautiful. This thing looked like it was in mint condition. It had been completely gone through. And out of everything in this auction, it was the only thing that had a reserve price on it. Everything else did not. It was the only thing with a reserve price, and I'm pretty sure I was the only one bidding on it, because I kept bidding on it and the price kept going up but never hitting its reserve. And I got it to maybe $2,500 and it still had not hit its reserve. And at some point I had to tap out, because I love Warlords, but I didn't have that kind of scratch on me.
What was the price that you tapped out at?
About $3,000.
Whoa.
So I don't know how much further it was going to go up before I hit that reserve, but it was going to be too high for me at that point.
What's the okay? I mean,
that's cocktail territory for Warlords.
Yeah. I know. I'm aware of that, but like, what? I haven't been paying much attention to the market, or I haven't looked up it on the price guide. But like, what is the average from the three of you? Do you know what the average is?
I've seen 2 of them now near me for about $2,000 or less.
Yeah,
basically
for the upright.
Wow.
Exity says
$700.
1,000 and up,
Ooh.
and Vintage Arcade Gal says 1,200 to 1,700 for the upright. The upright is
why it was
actually
so high because it was completely restored in the condition it was
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
respectably. But
The upright
okay.
is more rare than the cocktail.
Really?
Says I mean, and you know, Atari manufacturing data is available. It's not perfect, but the Vintage Arcade Gal price guide says 1,014 manufactured for the upright and 1,253 manufactured for the cocktail. Cocktail goes up to 5,000.
What are the Yeah, well, on the price guide it goes up to 5,000. But what are the cocktails actually going for lately? You said there was a bunch that have been
The cheapest I've ever seen one was $2K on Craigslist, and it
Oh.
was dead. And the most expensive I've seen one sell for is $4,500 recently.
Holy!
What did you pay for yours, Chance?
Do you want to know?
You got it for free.
You got yours as a project, right?
I got mine almost fully working. I wouldn't say project because it was just weathered. It was a full survivor. We had to replace a RAM chip on the board, and it was then fully working. But I paid $250 Canadian.
Gave it the magic touch.
No, that was one of those like literally when Josh pulled up, like because he had to like leave to like empty the car out and come back to the guy we were buying all this stuff from. What are you ET?
Flashlight.
Literally as soon as Josh like pulled back up, I was like, start the car, go, don't just go, just let's go. But like, yeah, he said $150 if he couldn't find the board and $250 if he could find the board. He goes downstairs, he finds Canadian. So it's like $350 American, $3.50 American. He comes back upstairs with this like silver like Mylar bag with the board inside, and I'm like, I'm like, oh yes, oh that's great that you found it. Cool, Josh will be here any minute.
What I would have done is get that into the car, lock the car, and then gone back and said,
no.
Do you have anything else you want to sell?
It gets worse. Sorry to derail the conversation, but we have to talk about this then. The reason we were there in the first place is because Josh got a random text from one of our subscribers, friend of the channel, who's local in Calgary. He's like, hey, I've got this asteroids. No, what was it? It was Space Invaders. I've got the Space Invaders cabinet. It's completely gutted. It's just a cabinet. I'm just going to throw it out. Do you guys want it for free? Maybe restore it? And Josh is like, hum and hawing on it. Calls me. He almost didn't call me. Calls me, says, hey, let's go grab this. We go and we grab it. When we get in there, there's a Road Blasters in there, which is now my Marble Madness sitting downstairs in my collection. There's the Warlords. There's a radar scope, which was a Donkey Kong. There was like 4 other Atari cocktails, one of which is my Asteroids Deluxe, which is also downstairs in my row next to my Warlords. Like so much stuff we pulled out of there. And yeah, I paid under 1,000 for everything. He knew what he had. Yeah. He set the price. It wasn't theft. I'm like, dude, are you sure? And he goes, yeah.
Well, nice.
Well, maybe
always go get it.
Maybe Kay, what you were experiencing, you accidentally waltzed into a money laundering situation.
Yeah.
And this transaction was being done for money laundering purposes, and you were the rube that was actually, wait, there's no game? I'm trying to buy this game.
I don't know, maybe they just found those pictures on Google image search or whatever, but
Zach, I'm at the point where when I see things, when I see transactions, public transactions that don't make sense, I just assume it's money laundering.
It's all money laundering, yeah.
Well, it didn't sell, but I did see it come back up on another auction because it came up on another auction when the guy, like, it was being sold on consignment, and the owner ended up selling his entire collection, and his entire collection was like that, where it was a bunch of like fully restored games, and it was part of that collection, and most of his collection was like that. And it came up for sale again, and once again was on reserve, so I didn't even bother to bid on it a second time because I knew the reserve was going to be the same price. So I don't even know if it sold the second time or not because I didn't bother watching that auction because I looked at the listing and that was the only thing in it that I wanted. So didn't even bother. So
I wonder if the one that we have up here that we used for The Last of Us is for sale. So a bunch of the games that we had in that, a lot of the Atari cabinets that were in that, weren't ours. They were from another collector, and he lives like down the road from me about like 20 minutes. I should message him and see if he wants to get rid of the Warlords if he hasn't already.
And maybe that is how you could parlay it into an ice cold beer.
Oh. Maybe.
Moving on. So we got the second part here. Right? So talking about these holy grails that you get that just aren't all what they were cracked up to be.
You changed the subject on that awfully fast, sir.
So anyway.
So I says to Mabel,
So the first one I'll talk about is probably not that unique. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's come across this, but Tron. Lots of people end up with the Tron and then realize that the game is not
beautiful cabinet.
It's in,
beautiful cabinet.
It's in Liam's background right now.
It's a fantastic looking cabinet, and it's just not that great a game. Like it's not terrible.
Liam, put your arm up. Do this.
I'll tell you,
other side. There you go.
It'll keep anyone entertained. It'll keep anyone entertained for minutes.
Seconds.
I played Tron yesterday.
I will say it's not a terrible game as far as like some of the other stuff I'll bring up, certainly.
Notice that
it's one of those games that I had on my list for things that I thought I wanted and then I got.
Oh, and then you were, yeah.
And I was like, this wouldn't really be worth the real estate that it takes up. If I have limited space, this isn't the one that is worth keeping as opposed to something else.
Oh, and I'll just note that Liam said, I played Tron yesterday, not I played Tron all day yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, usually I pick like 5 games to play a day, and I'll
semantics
just play those 5
He's
games.
like, I played Tron yesterday to make sure it still works.
I turned it on to see if the monitor was still working.
I started the game and then I walked away.
I will be clear. There are a couple games that I do turn on sometimes when I'm in the arcade just to see that they're still working. And that would include like Lunar Lander.
I love that game, actually. Lunar Lander's phenomenal. I could play that 1,000,000 times. That would probably be one of my go-tos.
Tron's just one of those games that I had really fond memories of as a kid, and then I revisited as an adult. I was like, it's fine.
Yeah,
I just wish Tron had a level skip. If Tron had like a skill step like Solar Fox does, it'd be a much better game.
That is, I would agree to that.
Tron is basically a 2600 greatest hits.
Yeah.
It's like four 2600 games in one.
Yeah, I can see that.
Can I I'm going to put Tron on my list as well. Very specifically. Like we had one. We were given a cabinet for free. I've got a freaking NCOM sticker on the back of my car. Like that's how much of a Tron junkie I am. I got into this hobby because I made a Flynn's arcade, build your own arcade cabinet. That's how I started.
All evidence of this has been destroyed, however.
Specifically, we'll get into that another time. But Tron was like, as soon as I got that, I was like, it sat in the garage for like a year. We did a Canadian arcade episode on that pickup. And it was like, here you go, Chance. My buddy Cameron calls me up. Free Tron cabinet. I'm like, oh, sweet. Let's go. I didn't know. I gutted like the last little bits of the metal off that cabinet to make Vanessa's Tapper. And then I gave the cabinet to someone up northern Alberta. Come down and get it. It's yours. It's free.
I think it's just because I really enjoyed the movie as a kid, and so I have all this nostalgia for it. And then I play it, and I'm like, it's fine.
I have it on good authority that you're not. Sorry, let me rephrase this. I have it on good authority that arcade collectors are probably going to be pretty frustrated with the Neutron movie.
Oh,
that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to. I'm not under an NDA. A little birdie told me that something may frustrate arcade collectors a lot for the new Tron movie, but
Oh no.
that the new Tron
Like
movie
what?
is going. I'm not. No, that's
They
all. I'm
take some
giving up.
arcade machines up to a roof and they push them off.
I
I
have it on good
They
authority.
confused Tron with environmental discs of Tron.
They're like, that's gonna break through the door. They just smash it with a sledgehammer or something.
Yeah.
So the new Tron movie is going to be epic. Like, I didn't work on it. I got a chance to potentially work on it, but we just couldn't make it happen. And I know a few people that have worked on it.
They couldn't meet your fee.
No, it was like a timing thing, and it was a union thing, and it not being out because it was filmed in Vancouver, right? And that's like 12 hours from here. It's good. I've heard good things from non-arcade people that were involved with it. Sounds pretty good.
So did they do something bad or do something wrong?
Do you remember when that guy on YouTube that cuts things in half with his son got a lot of flack for cutting a Ms. Pac-Man in half, or a Pac-Man in half?
All right, yeah.
Yeah, this is worse. Anyway.
Clip that.
Anyway, okay, moving on.
They cut Nolan Bushnell in half.
They cut Nolan. but yeah.
At the waist or like down the middle?
Yeah, they just bisect them completely.
Do you remember that amount of hate that guy got? What was it? What's the YouTube channel's like what's on the inside or something? He's like really good
like
friends.
you can literally open the back door and look at what's on the inside.
He's like really good friends with Zach from Jerry Rig Everything. And like literally him and his kid sawed a Pac-Man in half, and the hate that the arcade community went at him with was like it was unrelenting hate. I have never seen us as a collective group together and put so much disdain on somebody.
And that was just for a Pac-Man cabinet. Imagine if he did,
a Tron
or a Carnival trim line.
Oh, well, I'd be like, all right, I'm not down in Utah, so I'm not going to get it from him anyway. But I mean, the argument can be made that it was like, what's the numbers? What's the production numbers on Pac-Man?
112,000.
Yeah, like a lot, right? So the argument is, he cut the cabinet in half, but it's one of the most ubiquitous cabinets there are.
It would have been funny if he accidentally bought a reproduction and didn't realize it. That would have been funny. Anyway. Okay, how about any more of these examples?
Yeah, I got a few. So I think the biggest one, there's a place in Austin called Pinballs, and it's a big arcade. There's 2 floors, and it's mostly pinball machines. I played a Street Fighter 2 pin there for the first time many years ago, and I really enjoyed it. It was my first time playing it, and I thought that pin was pretty cool, and so I decided that I wanted one. In my hometown, there's a former operator that is a family friend of ours that went to high school with my mom. I've known the guy my entire life, and I was in his shop one day and just kind of walking through, and I noticed he's got one, and it doesn't work. And I was trying to make a deal with him on buying it. Finally make a deal with it. I buy the machine. I get it home. Sits there for about 2 years. Finally fix it. And I decided, I'm fixing this thing up for myself, which is why it sits there for 2 years, because if it's for me, I'll never really do it. So I finally get this thing fixed up, and then I go to play it, and I'm really enjoying it for about 3 games. And then I realized that this game has no replay value whatsoever, because once you play it 2 or 3 times, you've done everything there is to do, and there's nothing left to do. There is nothing to this table whatsoever. Like there's the difficulty level is exceptionally low, and there's no depth to that game whatsoever.
I would argue that's true of a lot of beat 'em ups. A lot of the go right and fight games you play, and these are games that people love, like Turtles or whatever. But you beat it once. You do, yeah, exactly. People like to play it. Casuals love it. Like as an arcade collector,
I don't get
hard
I don't get the replay value out of X-Men. right? We have the 6-player X-Men. It looks awesome. I don't regret buying it, but it exists purely as a party game. It gets played at parties.
A statement piece.
That's all of the Konami 4-player games.
Yeah.
Like all of them. But I'll tell you, my Simpsons and my Turtles, they make bank on location. Those games keep me afloat. And I think that's the point, right?
Remember, the point of these games was not to have fun. The point of these games was to
make money.
Make money.
100% make money. Which is why we come back to my argument about Ms. Pac-Man. It makes money, but it's not fun.
I disagree. It's fun, and it doesn't make any money because I enjoy the game, and it doesn't make me any money. Which leads me to my next game on the list. For me, Gauntlet Dark Legacy was a game that I got and really enjoyed when I had it in the arcade.
That's the sequel, right?
Yes, that's the sequel to.
That's the N64 game.
The purple one with the yellow T molding, and buddy of mine has a fully restored one.
That's basically the expansion pack to Gauntlet Legends, where it adds
N64
twice as many characters and twice as many stages. I loved playing it in the arcade, and so I wanted one for the home, and so I got a big showcase cab. And got it for the home, and it is not the same when you have it at home than when you have it in the arcade. And it's a lot like
those showcases are way too big.
Oh,
it is huge. For what it is way too big, but I had it in the garage at the time, so it wasn't that big a deal. But it dungeon crawlers like that suffer from the same issue as a lot of beat 'em ups, where whenever you take away the danger of running out of health or running out of lives, and it's basically just a grind fest, the game's no longer fun.
Yeah.
The entire appeal of playing a game, and the example I'm going to use right now is Final Fight, because that's my favorite beat 'em up of all time. That's the game that taught me what a beat 'em up was. That's what I used to play in the laundromat when I was a kid. The entire appeal of that game is you have X amount of quarters, and your goal is to get as far in that game as you can with your limited amount of quarters and make the game last as long as it can. So you want to be as good at that game as you possibly can to make your game last as long as it can. Whenever you take that away, and it's just you can hit the button for more credits at any time, and suddenly you have 96 lives and you can just blaze through it.
Like
and there's no longer any difficulty, there's no longer any danger, there's no incentive. You're just playing through the game. It's monotonous, it's boring, there's no challenge.
Some people like having slot machines at home.
Yeah, but
that's like machines.
That's like every single game that came before, what was it, Moon Patrol? Where you could just pay to keep going. Was that the first one that you could do that?
I'm not certain.
I
know Moon Patrol was known for being the first with parallax scroll.
Yeah. I thought, on Moon Patrol, can you just pay and keep going?
I think you can continue on it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was like the death of the arcade, because there's this definitive split before early games that, you got a quarter, you got 3 lives. That's it. Get the highest score you can, and there's your addiction train right there, right?
Google says Fantasy was one of the first. Super Cobra was one of the first. But people on Clav are arguing that there were some games even in the 70s that technically,
and also with like feeding credits in, right? Some games they handle the high scores differently. Some you just continue to get a higher and higher score. Some like cuts it off.
I think you to 0.
Gauntlet handled it the best. Gauntlet just divides your score by the number of quarters you put in.
Oh, that's Huh.
So with a game like Final Fight, if you have the discipline to make yourself only allow yourself to try for like a 1 credit clear and make yourself restart every time you die, that's one way to play it, where you can try to emulate the arcade experience. But if you're just crediting it up and just playing all the way through, especially if you're just playing by yourself, that's a party style game. And usually I'm just playing the games by myself. So if I don't have like an actual 4-player experience going on, Gauntlet Dark Legacy was absolutely useless as a game in my arcade. It just took up space.
You just play by yourself? You don't have
Well,
people over?
most of the time, if I'm playing my games, I'm just playing my games. There's nobody over.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't like an actual just like social experience, then yeah, if it was just me playing and like leveling up my character or whatever, it was just boring. It did not justify the space that it took up. So that was one that I was excited to get, and then the excitement did not last, and I ended up selling it pretty quickly. And I did not regret that sale at all. It did not feel the same as it did when it was in the arcade. It hit different and not in a good way. One last one, and it wasn't the game's fault. I picked up a Virtual On, but I only picked up one. You got to have a pair.
Yeah.
Playing Virtual On by yourself against the computer, it's not any fun. You got to have a pair of them. You got to play against somebody else because that's a fantastic game. I love Virtual On. I was really excited to pick one up, but whenever I went and picked it up from the guy, apparently, like, I picked up the one, he had a second one, but it had gotten left outside, and like the cabinet was like starting to melt, and so he just threw it away.
Oh,
and it's just ridiculous. So I picked up the one he had, and I was excited to have it. And I played it a few times, but
Virtual On games can melt. Somebody needs to tell Mosaic. He's in Vegas. Gets hot out there.
I live in a desert too, so I'm sure Vegas heat isn't a whole lot different from West Texas heat, that dry heat. So, yeah, don't leave it outside. That's for sure.
What was that made me think of? What was the game? It was like you could. They were slightly angled on the back, and it was almost like a first-person shooter. They were green and black. Stop making fun of my hand gestures, Charlie. They were, and you could like stack a bunch of them together, and it was like a first-person shooter game.
It's like War Assault or something like that.
The Grid.
Yeah,
That's one of those games where you don't want just one.
Yeah, it's got that like
you want
joystick and
yeah,
I know what
it's
you're
a fun game.
About.
Channel member Ezekiel, the Chicago Retro Ranger, is actively on the look for on the hunt for a couple of the Grid cabinets. If anyone knows where you can find them.
Yeah, they're fun. There was Kingston, Ontario. There was a bar called Arcade. Oh, what was it? Anyway, a buddy of ours opened it up a while back, and he had 4 of them sitting in the entry when you came in. It was a lot of fun. But I could just imagine like Virtual On or the Grid, like playing with one. It just wouldn't be the same.
Virtual On is fantastic, but I ended up selling that one pretty quickly because I knew I wasn't going to find a second one. So
you're all talking over my head. I don't have a lot of interest in like 90s stuff, so I just don't know the machines.
It's a big robot fighting game with the dual.
You've got a 90s row.
Yeah,
I got a few. But right I'm done. I don't have any more 90s games on the list.
No. There'll be something. Something will come around, and you'll be like, "Oh, hey, that was a lot of fun. We should try and find one of those."
I don't play them in the arcades when I go out.
No, anymore. You'll go out to like somebody's place, you and the wife, and you guys will both like awkwardly meet up later on somewhere else in the house and go, "Hey, I just played blank game," and it was like, "Oh, that was really good."
I said maybe you'll just go out and be like, "You know what? We need a Crazy Taxi.
You know what? We need a redemption game."
Yeah, that would be the day.
Yeah. I really need to wheel them in.
Can you? Wow. Can you? We're at this stage right now where everybody who has disposable income is buying up all of the games they played when they were younger. Right? Like I'm more like 90s games for me.
That's my entire business model.
80s games for sure. Okay. So at what point, here's my point. At what point do you pivot to selling redemption games? Okay. Because that's what the kids had in their arcades.
Redemption games for sale on Facebook Marketplace all the time.
Yeah.
They just sit there forever because there's no market for that.
Or the kids can't afford them yet because they're still in like college.
No, they're my age.
Uh-huh.
redemption games are not that young.
Yeah, I guess.
Those things were being thrown away 20 years ago.
Yeah, those are things just still being thrown away.
They're still being thrown away. They're sitting outside, probably the back of a Mr. Gaddy's right now, sitting there waiting to be picked up by someone and put on Facebook Marketplace, trying to be sold for $200, missing parts.
Oh.
And then they message me trying to buy it. No, I don't want it. I've gotten a few of those things. People have brought them to me, like as part of a trade. I got a Colorama not that long ago, just as part of a trade. Like they brought me several machines, and that was just one of them. Just a 2-player Colorama. It was part of the trade. I had to take it, and I just stole the power supply out of it, and like what other parts I could use, and I just set it outside. Took a picture of it, put it on Facebook, said come and get it, and somebody did. And then I saw it on Facebook Marketplace a couple weeks later.
I think in Texas you're supposed to say come and take it.
Come and take it. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I remember we went on an arcade, not a raid, but like we went to like one of these places that was like, those like those McDonald's play places, right? There was a place. It's like one of those things where you take your kids to, and like the whole wall of this mini warehouse is one of these giant children's play places, right? And they had a whole bunch of stuff. They had some decent games. They had like a Guitar Hero. They had like one of those ride on, you put $1 in and you ride like it was a giant Garfield. And he had this redemption fishing game. I'm never going to forget it. And no matter what we took, because it was like a big, like 8-player redemption fishing game. It's like a giant cocktail with the screen, like a 55
I've seen those at rest stops.
Yeah,
like
they're not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't know what it was, but he's like, if you guys buy anything, you're taking this as well. The price that you guys end up taking, because they were closing the place down. They're like, I don't care what you do. What you guys want out of this, because he knew that we were there to like pull all of his stuff out. He's like, you're taking this fishing game. I am not, you are not leaving. I saw you pull up in that trailer. You're not leaving without this fishing game. And we're like, we don't want it. And he's like, no. I'm increasing the price on everything that I offer to you. Even though you guys were first, you're like, you're taking the fishing game. And I was like, there was nothing.
Harpoon Lagoon.
Is one of them?
That's one of them, yeah.
It was garbage. It was like, no. To be very clear, this was like a full-on Chinese knockoff of whatever it was. He must have got it on like early day AliExpress kind of thing. Like, it was bad. It was like Chinese characters on it as well, and it was garbage. And we're like, it didn't work. It didn't turn on. The monitor was like dead, or the power supply was dead, or something. Some of the cabinet lights were but it's like, we don't want this. And
then you fix it and you turn it on, and like the first thing you see is like a Windows boot screen in Chinese.
Yeah. Or like a camera staring back at you. Please connect me to your internet.
Anyway, that's all I've got. So feel free to move on to the next person.
Liam, how about you? Games you thought you were gonna love, and they were duds, and they broke your heart that way.
Not really any. I mean, for the games that we've picked up, they've been on our list for the most part. The only game that was really not on our list that we picked up by chance was Firefox, and that's one of my favorite machines. So I think that really worked out well.
Well, let me ask it a slightly different way then.
I mean, there's the one you picked up that had termites in it. That was a bad one.
I was just going to say.
Well, but that's different.
That's different, because I actually still love that game, Star Trek. And I still want
the parts.
I still have the parts.
Yeah.
But I don't have the cabinet. But
I mean,
that was not a dud, right? Like, I enjoy playing
Star
Trek.
Well, it says here, only to discover it's really not all that is cracked up to be. I mean,
well, it literally wasn't all that was cracked up to be. It was probably about 60% of what it was cracked up to be, because the termites ate the rest.
Let me ask this question a slightly different way. Of all the games in your collection, Liam, and including any games that you've gotten rid of, which game have you played the least?
What's the low-hanging fruit in your collection, Liam?
Tron.
I mean, the games that we played the least on the day-to-day would be things like X-Men and Gauntlet, because they're party games, right? They don't play so well when you're playing on your own or just two people. You really need
next?
6 people standing around them.
Yeah.
After that,
no, let's be honest. This is a group. This is honesty here. If you had a choice, what would go out the door first?
Asteroids.
Really?
Because I've got all of them. I have asteroids, lunar lander, asteroids.
Okay.
Deluxe,
Yeah,
Space
that
Duel.
doesn't count. Make a cut. Make some cuts. Okay, your house is burning. You can save your entire collection minus your asteroids and
This is a very odd
one other.
He's
scenario.
gonna say Space Invaders.
It's probably gonna be
The X-Men
Space
because I like not
Invaders.
having back pain.
It's probably gonna be Space Invaders. That would actually no. It would be the cabinet for Gate of Doom. I would take the PCB and leave the cabinet.
Wow. Wow.
I hate the cabinet that Gate of Doom is in. I just haven't found a proper Data East cabinet for it yet.
Well, yeah, okay. That answers the question.
Liam loves all of his children equally, but Chance does not.
No, okay.
So Chance, how about you?
I've got to say it's tough for me too because like I agree with Liam that games. Okay, my stance is if it's going to come into my collection, it's either going to be something that interests me, I know and I really really want, or that I don't know. Things just don't get added to my collection just because. And I'm not going to go out there and just, it's an arcade game from the 70s and 80s. It's classic. I have to. No, I like opposed to Charlie. I will never own a Spy Hunter. Just don't find fun in it. I've tried playing it. I've got friends that have it. I just don't. It's not my thing. We already talked, right? We already talked about Tron. We both agree. I think most of us agree on Tron. Here's a hot take. The game that I bought that I thought I absolutely needed, like, you got everybody here has been through this conversation. Oh, you collect arcade games? Do you have it's usually Galaga, Ms. Pac-Man, or Centipede. So I thought when I first started this hobby, not playing Centipede, I'm like, I gotta have a Centipede. It's like, I gotta have a Centipede because I've had multiple, friends, I have family members that were like, are you going to get a Centipede? So I'm like, so I go out and I get a Centipede. There was one that showed up locally down the road from me, like 20 minutes down the road. Buddy Cody and I went and picked it up, got it home, played it for a little bit. I think this is like 9 years ago. That game left my house so fast.
And here we have Centipede and Millipede, both in their dedicated cabinets here.
Yeah, and I just can't.
Classics. Love them.
I get it, but like, I rag on Ms. Pac-Man a lot, but like, I legitimately have owned, let's be honest, it was like 6 months I think I had it.
I would say Millipede's probably one of Sam's favorite games.
Millipede's a good game. I dig Millipede. It's just like a little bit actually, but Centipede by itself, it's just like it got boring fast. And like for me, it was like, okay, it's like, oh God, I need this game. And not just because like I think like the community and my friends, my family, like, you need to have a Centipede. And I'm like, I gotta have a Centipede. And I think
beautiful artwork.
Yeah. But I think that's maybe like where part of my, it's nice looking. It's a nice looking cabinet, but it also weighs a metric ton.
Most Atari games do.
Atari quality.
Yeah. So, but maybe this is where the whole, if it's going to come into my basement, part of the, if it's going to come into my basement, if it's going to come into my collection, it's got to be something that's of value to me, that finds interest in my eyes. And Centipede was one of those things that I thought was like going to be the most amazing game. And the absolute moment I needed cash, it was out the door. And that is
exactly
that can get you a quick $400.
$7. I got $700 for that game.
Yeah, I saw them for 12.
But that's the revelation that I had about Dark Planet, right? Like, to prevent a situation like Dark Planet again, I have to be comfortable with selling some machines that I know I can get back.
Yeah.
So like things like Asteroids would be the first out the door. Centipede would go out the door. Not Galaga. I like the Galaga, but like Joust and Robotron, they'd go out the door. I could get better ones down the line, right? Because they're like moderately restored.
Yeah.
But some stuff only get like 1 or 2 opportunities to grab.
Well, don't get me wrong. Like, there are some games in my collection that I'm the only one that ever plays them.
Yeah.
Like, do you think anybody cares at all about a near mint condition Make Tracks Cabaret that has 400 plays on it? No, nobody cares. It's even got the speedy chip in it. And when people go downstairs into my basement, well, I mean, in part because it's sitting right next to my Rocky and Bullwinkle pin, they're like, oh, pinball. But like, nobody plays Make
Nobody
Tracks.
plays Sinistar. If you look at the high
Walter
score
Day
table on
cares
my,
about Make Tracks.
What?
you look at the high score table on my Sinistar, it is 30 entries of my high scores.
Yeah. But like, I've got games that, what else do I have in the basement that nobody plays? Nobody plays. Rally Bike. Nobody plays Rally Bike.
Nobody
I think
plays
Rally
Firefox either. Nobody plays Firefox. Nobody plays. Very few people play Major Havoc when we have people over. I play it a lot.
But Liam, and I know you're going to agree with me on this, you would never get rid of them.
No.
Like, when I die, it's going to have to be a Viking funeral. They're just going to pile them all up onto a barge and put me in the middle of the plinth, and then just push it out into the middle of the river. Or
Will the bylaw allow that?
No, but
well, they're going to sue you.
Well, but I was thinking about it because, like, a year ago, we were looking at redoing our lease on the house because our landlord tried to crank our rent up like 38%. And so we've been living here, in November 2025, it'll be 9 years that we've been in this house. And when we were renegotiating it and we realized the rent was going to go up, we were like, how many more years do we want to live here? Like, we're good. We're comfortable. We take good care of the place. We've got a great situation. But like, it was like, it dawned on us that like one of these days it's potentially we're not going to live here anymore. And so I was thinking, I'm like, well, what does that mean for my collection? What goes first? What do I really keep? And it was funny because around that same time, I had asked some of my closer friends, like I've mentioned before in the past, that we have a little collective here in Calgary. It's, a half dozen, 7 or 8 of us in the Calgary area that we have a Facebook group. And if something pops up, we throw it to the collective. If we know one of our buddies in the collective is looking for it, we give it up to that collective right away. We help each other. And I thought about it. I was like, well, if I died, if I got hit by a bus, who would want, like, as horrible as this sounds, who from the group would get what I have? Because they would get first dibs. So I asked everybody. I was like, so if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, as morbid as this is, what would y'all want? If price wasn't an issue, if, like, let's just all line up like the vultures that we are and just go at my collection. And I got some really good answers from my friends. But then again, as soon as we realized that maybe the house was possibly, we weren't going to be living here for much longer, like, we've got a great situation with the amount of space that I have. What does this mean for my collection? Am I going to move somewhere that doesn't have the ability to hold the amount of games that I have in the basement? And so I started really thinking about, okay, well, what's on the chopping block? If I could only keep 5 games, what are those 5? Or what goes out the door first? Right?
Weren't you planning on moving to Hawaii? You're not taking all your games to Hawaii.
I would, yeah, in a heartbeat. Okay, so
there are some games that I would keep over like anything else.
Yeah, there's to answer your question. There's 2 possibilities here. One, Canada becomes the 51st state, like that's ever going to happen, and then I could just, okay, I don't.
No, that's not going to happen. Puerto Rico becomes the 51st state. Canada becomes the 52nd.
Yeah. Still, Alberta might become the 51st state, unfortunately. But no, that gives me a green card. I'll just move to Hawaii, or B, I get status, and because I can get citizenship. American.
But no, Greenland becomes a 51st state.
I would throw my entire collection into a couple of shipping containers, and I would ship them over to the island. We've literally thought about this. We've done the math on this.
A lot of people don't realize this. Shipping containers get dumped into the ocean.
Yeah,
every single day.
I'm aware of that. I understand the risks.
Which is why he's going to be in the shipping container. So if that happens, he dies with it.
I'll have a little cot. But no, if
there's your Viking funeral.
Right? Yeah. Where's Chance? Bottom of the Pacific. But
he died doing what he loved.
Exactly. I'll live stream from that. But no, because we have talked about that. Because
I've talked about it with Sam too, about like what we would want to do with machines. And for some of them, I'm like, well, I feel like some of these are significant enough that maybe a museum would want them, but the rest of them, like, I don't know.
Your Inferno alone is like, I would say out of all, maybe I'm biased because I love that game, but like out of your entire collection that I've seen, your Inferno alone is probably like that right there. If I was a big collector, or if I was like money is a no object collector, or if I was a museum, I would be like, something bad happened to Liam.
Allegedly.
Let me tell you, Chance, that as much as you like Inferno, it actually is that fun to play. It is a great game.
Yeah.
Accidents happen.
Accidents. Right now, I can hear Sam like loading his shotgun to defend the property. Like, let's go. Oh, she's watching today. Is she watching?
She was watching earlier. I don't know if she still is.
Oh, okay. I think Vanessa's watching right now, and if this is happening on my
the new format.
Yeah, well, Vanessa wanted this format too. She agreed with you guys.
Does she get a producer credit now?
No, she doesn't need a producer credit. I'm gonna get smacked on the side of the head when I go to the door. But no, like if push came to shove and I was no longer on this planet, my collection would go to that collective. But I trust Vanessa would make the right decisions for the people around me, right? So
yeah. And to answer TSJ's question, what game would you be buried with? Inferno.
Oh, that's a good question. What game would you be buried with?
Honestly, the true answer is none, because I really don't like the idea of removing one from the world. But if I had to keep one with me, it would be Inferno.
I like to put you in the X-Men, because that way you'll have like a force.
That's big enough to be a coffin.
That's a big casket. Yeah. I don't know. I like the idea of the old. What was the in Egypt? The tombs they would make,
sarcophagus.
No, that's just like their. But what
Pyramid.
was the room? What was the room called?
King's Chamber.
Sure. I think that's what we'll do. I legitimately think that's what we'll do.
Random Pixelated Billy Bob has a good question here with a $500 million super chat donation. In a similar vein, is there a game that you guys wouldn't take for free? Not just because they are huge or something. I've turned down free games before.
That list is so long. Like, oh man.
And let's put it this way. Let's say the game was mint. Works perfectly, doesn't need to be restored. It's just ready to go.
Oh man. Any redemption game.
Any redemption game. Mega Touches, I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. I gave one away. Okay, hold on. Let's fix this. Let's fix this.
Forgetting one.
I want to
amend one.
Hold on. I want to amend this. It has to be a game in the 70s or 80s or early 90s. It has to be a legit arcade game. Okay. Mega Touch doesn't count. Wow. Have you played a Make Tracks with a speedy chip?
No.
Walter Day loves it.
It's so good. I mean, it's not great. But it's better than Ms. Pac-Man.
Say, I would take anything for free because anything is worth
turn around and sell it.
I say anything is worth parts, if nothing else. If a game is that terrible, first of all, you would get the satisfaction of destroying it.
Yeah.
And to prove that I will take anything for free, the other day I bought back a machine that I had sold, and he gave me an arcade 1-up for free, and I took it. So I have my first arcade 1-up.
I definitely see games for free around us. And stuff like Area 51 for free, I've passed on. Zaxxon for free, I've passed on.
That's what I was going to say.
Zaxxon. This is what I was getting on before. Like our collection here is on a list. Most of the games that we've got here came on the list. If it is not something that's on the list, even if it is free, I think long and hard about if I actually care enough to go and like drive 30 minutes to get that game. Right? Like.
See, it's different for me, though, because I'm not limited on space.
Yeah.
You want to know something messed up? Y'all hate on Zaxxon so much. I don't mind it.
Well, we know your taste is bad. You already talked 100%. About how much this Pac-Man is the worst game in the world.
But like my favorite game of all time is Donkey Kong. Like I think one of the games that I'd be buried with is my red 5-slot Donkey Kong cabinet or my Sheriff, right? Or like what would I go? Oh, A Street Fighter, another Street Fighter. I don't think I would take another one.
Okay, that's a point there in the comments. He said,
Showcase cabinet.
Any pedestal arcade I passed on, even if it's free. Yeah, I have passed on free showcase cabs.
Yeah, showcase
Yeah,
cabinets.
no, there's no way.
But he said not
30
just because
plus
they're
inch
huge or something.
monitors.
Yeah, that is because they're too big. I would
Why?
have a machine
The
that was
only
too big.
large game is the X-Men. And actually, no, that's a lie. We have another large machine hopefully coming, but we'll see if I can get that squared away.
This is the Fastenal one? I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, it's the
Freightquote.com. Just do it.
Massive.
Well,
so we'll see how that goes.
Sam, if you're listening, freightquote.com. Trust me. Try it.
Before we get to the forward-looking updates, let me weigh in on this the current topic. I'm where you think it's a grail, turns out to be a dud. I'm actually a little bit worried about this with Spy Hunter because I fully acknowledge Spy Hunter gameplay is not the greatest. But for me, the nostalgic value of Spy Hunter, specifically sit down, totally outweighs the fact that when I go back and I revisit and I play Spy Hunter, I don't love it, but I still want that cabinet.
You just want to hear the theme song.
Before, I do love the theme song, and for me, Spy Hunter for me means being a kid, like 4 years old, on vacation. And this is like the first time that I've ever like driven a car, right? Like that. I remember that memory where I was so excited because it was like I was driving a car.
Right? So you're saying you were driving a car at 4 years old,
right? With machine guns and smoke screen and
not a
oil
real
slicks,
car, okay?
Right?
Yeah.
So the third topic that I'll take sort of some liberty here. I want to quickly reflect on 2 now complete years of the Coin Jam podcast. I was going back and looking at some of the data. I remember this. We've talked about this before. The idea for this actually started. It was Jeremiah's idea. Jeremiah from Coin Op Corner, one of the original 4, the Fab 4. Reaches out to me and he's like, "Hey, I've been thinking about doing a podcast. Would you be interested in that?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm 100% in," because I had actually been thinking about that too, and I hadn't talked to anybody yet. We recruited Kay and we recruited Liam, and we had some interesting things going. Right, our third episode, I never really talked about this, and I still haven't, but we almost got sued over. But don't worry, I think it's okay. And I go back and I look at some of these episodes.
You give me grief for getting like hate from the FCC, and you already almost got actually sued.
Controversy creates cash, brother.
No. Thank you. I agree.
Well,
censorship is oppression. But
to tell you, that episode made us 90 cents. Our most watched episode made us 90 cents. So hold on.
Why did you? I want to know. Why did you? What happened on that episode? Cole's notes.
We can talk another time. But if you don't ever get served and you just ignore anyway. I look at some of the episodes that what did well and what didn't go well. Who can guess what our least watched episode is?
My first episode.
Nope.
Oh,
our least watched episode.
It's gonna be one of the ones that I missed, obviously.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Was it the one where was it the first one I was in with The Last of Us?
Nope. That one did very well.
Oh.
Yep.
That
was one of our better episodes. And that one.
Was it before or after Chance?
It's before Chance.
Okay.
Was it the rookie mistakes one?
Nope. It was the one right after. It was Creamy Corner and the big Nashville Barn Hall. So this was the episode where Jeremiah and I talked about how we met up halfway between us and made a prisoner exchange of stuff, right? And it was the one where Cameron McCaslin came on and told us about his raid. I think the reason that video did so poorly was the title. It has nothing to do with anything arcade or pinball or anything related. It's Creamy Corner in the big Nashville Barn Hall. So there's nothing in there that is SEO friendly. That's our least watched episode.
It's a terrible band name.
By a mile. Okay.
What are our top 3 most watched episodes?
The third episode, which was the scam and salmon episode. That was the number 1. Number 2, I think, is the Last of Us. I'm just looking at this. It won't actually let me sort. And hold on.
Scam and Salmon. That's the okay.
Yeah. It won't actually let me sort this. So I think the third most watched episode is the one with Ben Avery. Yeah, so people like pinball content. Here's a good one for you. What is our most disliked episode? So for those of you that don't know, so on YouTube, if you're a YouTube content creator, people can do a like or a dislike on your content. For the past couple of years, YouTube has made it so you can't see, like, publicly, like, you can't see the dislike count, but the creator can. So most of our episodes have 100% likes, and if you're listening or watching right now, take this as an opportunity to smash that like button as hard as you possibly can. Most of our episodes, I would say the overwhelming majority of our episodes get 100% likes, right? Who wants to guess what is by far our lowest like to dislike ratio?
The first one with Jeremiah.
Nope.
You were
first one with
that.
Chance.
You were waiting.
First one with Chance is a relatively high. It's easily top 10 most watched.
Wow.
And by far the least liked episode.
What?
I'm sorry. It's still in the 90s. It's still in the 90s.
Is that the introduction to the soundboard, or?
It's still in the 90s, but it's the most disliked episode. And we kept them. And actually, the next episode, no, we were talking about like when it's been a year for Chance, and that was right at the end of March. So the next episode will be like the 1-year anniversary of Chance.
Huh.
But yeah.
Wow. And no threats from the FCC so far.
Well, I only listen. I mean, I only allow myself to be subject to the jurisdiction of the laws of the United States. So anything from, America Junior up north, I don't even pay attention to.
Your laws have absolutely no bearing on what I do or say.
Here's the thing. And this is maybe a hot take. There is literally no such thing as international law.
Yeah.
That word is a misnomer. There are agreements between countries, but there's no such thing as international law.
Yeah.
There are treaties, there are agreements, there's no such thing as international law.
This is why I'm wanted in 4 separate countries.
There you go. And unwanted in others.
Yeah.
So
I'm never going back to Guam.
So I will say, I first of all want to say thank you all of the co-hosts, even Chance, but Kay and Liam and Jeremiah. I still talk to Jeremiah weekly, so Jeremiah's still out there. Jeremiah's actually been thinking about. He still does very rarely, but I think more often than the Canadian Arcade, he releases new episodes. He's actually been talking about doing a podcast, but totally unrelated, and I think just audio only, but not even related to arcade stuff. But thank you guys. This has been a lot of fun. Looking forward to doing 20 more years of this, and because anyway, and to all the people who watch and listen and participate in the live chat and make incredibly generous donations. In this episode we've had Papa Sean 69 and Kawaru and Texas J and Random Billy Bob. A lot of these guys are also, repeat offenders with these super generous donations. And folks like Chris Dorr, aka Geach, and Synthetic Cheetah, who goes by, it starts with an L, their other screen name, who became, new members through this live stream. Thank you all. Your support is incredible. I do this because this is fun. And yeah, thanks for providing me with another creative outlet to talk about a hobby that I'm so passionate about.
Wayne helped me fix my car actually because of this.
Did a mouse chew a wiring harness?
No, seriously. We put out that video about the Pac-Man pickup, and because of the Discord.
Oh, this is the Acadia.
Yeah, Wayne helped me fix my Acadia. Just one suggestion. So, like,
was it throw it away and buy a new car?
No, it was put power steering fluid in the pump.
That'll help.
Anyway, on that
That'll
note.
help.
Yeah.
Cool. So with our new format, we have like closing updates, which are forward-looking. So we'll go around the horn again and tell folks, what your upcoming plans are, what's next in your project queue, what parts you're looking for, like iRobot stuff for Liam. Maybe what's next on your channel. Do you have a video in the hopper? What's coming up, the coming weeks? So why don't we go around the horn again, starting with Kay.
So I wrote down on my notes, I fix stuff, ? So that's what's coming next on my channel is I'm going to fix some stuff. I just have more projects that I'm going to fix. I don't actually have like...
That was good, dude.
I don't have like an order or an idea of what's going next. Like, I don't know what I'm going to fix next.
Oh.
I know I've got my my 3-player off-road that I'm probably going to work on fairly soon. I've got a Popeye that I'm going to work on fairly soon. The Sega Turbo is probably what's going to be next.
Is the Popeye still available?
Is Popeye still available? I think the Sega Turbo is probably going to be the next project that I work on because it's already got a buyer. So I should probably work on that because I can't really sell it until it's fixed. So they probably want me to fix that before I sell it to them. So I think the Sega Turbo is going to be the next thing that I'm actually going to put a video up on. So that's probably the next thing in the queue. But beyond
that's
that,
a pretty simple game, but that is a very fun game.
It's not a very simple to work on though, but it's already mostly working. I think, if I recall, I think it's playable. So I'll recap the monitor and all that fun stuff. It does have some graphics glitches. So I do
make sure you put some power steering fluid in it.
Yeah, it's got some janky steering, but the cabinet's not so bad looking. I just got to go through the boards. I do have a spare board set that does not work, but if I do need to steal some parts from it, I can. So I think it shouldn't be too hard to get that to be a fully working cabinet. So expect my next video most likely to be on that.
How about you, Chance? You gonna clean your house and live stream?
No. The house is cleaned. All my projects, for those who know me really well, know that I have to get things in order to get things done. And I think now that things are in order and I started working on the Eldorado, I've gotten the Eldorado out of the way. I've got a bunch of projects downstairs that actually are Canadian arcade worthy. We've got the old Eldorado playfield. I've always wanted to do a video where we show how you can take an old beat up playfield and very simply, very inexpensively add LED lighting to it to make a piece of artwork. I think that would make for good content. The Nibbler is in the pipe now. Won't get to that yet. I've got some racing simulator stuff that I want to build first. That's non-Canadian, non-arcade related. And then, other than that, I think my X-Men, I've got to finish building my 4-player X-Men, get that on location. Don't know if that's going to be a video, but that's coming up on the docket. And, I've got a red tent that I've torn apart and it's been sitting in pieces for years. And I think it might be time to just take those pieces and my existing red tent and make one really, really nice, fully restored red tent and then sell the other one. I don't think that's going to get done, but let's be honest. I maybe.
Are you going to do a video in a similar style to your Tempest cocktail video?
It takes so much to do a video like that. Like when you look at what YouTubers do to create content, especially now, a lot of YouTubers I've seen have been paring back. If they've got big crews, they're pulling back unless you've gotten like Mr. Beast size and you just keep going that way. A lot of my favorite YouTubers are cutting their staff and going back to a simpler time or just retiring. And I think for something like that, yeah, we're going to do more content like that, especially because, you know, Josh is an amazing film camera and we want to leverage that wherever possible. But to get him and I together at my place for 8-12 hours straight to do something like that takes a lot out of both of us. But it will, you know, there'll be more of that. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for me.
Cool. How about you, Liam? What's next for Retrobotics?
Well, I do have one deal that's been made, and I'm hoping that we can get the thing shipped here. You know, crossing fingers that everything works out. I'll be very sad if it doesn't. But
why don't you just go get it and pick it up?
It's a 1,400-mile drive, so I don't know.
Since when does that stop you?
No, absolutely not. Especially something that unwieldy. But other than that, I thought that Inferno was going to take me longer to get working than iRobot, so I'm sad that iRobot is still not working. I desperately want to get iRobot done. So all I need is the power supply and the control panel. I have everything else. If anyone out there has those parts, I am begging for those parts. So
can't you whittle a control panel out of a block of wood?
Yeah, but the power supply, you could.
That's a weird Atari switching
it's
power.
Weird Atari switcher that
drives
does
the monitor too.
Have you put like wanted ads on Clav?
Oh yeah,
like really aggressive
standard one.
No, you make a new one.
I have found a few people who have them, but I've just not been able to convince one to actually sell me the spare unit that they claim to have. Like I know one guy who's got 3, but he won't tell me one.
Why? Like it's not like they go bad, but it's not like they're not rebuildable.
I don't know. We'll see. But once I have the power supply, at least I can make the cabinet work. Like I have a control panel. It's not the proper one, but I can put the joystick on it and play the game if I was able to power the board set.
Yeah.
But it will be moved into the arcade in a couple weeks. Once the T-molding is on the cabinet, I'm repainting the coin door tomorrow. Everything is going to be put back together, and then we'll just move it into the arcade and wait for the power supply. Because I'm not going to give up on it. It'll get finished eventually, but I don't know when.
Soon.
Cool. And as for me, I got to finish fixing that Amplifone monitor for Mark's Star Wars. I'm also, I've had a spare empty Joust cabinet for a year. That's high up in the queue. I want to turn that into a multi-Williams J-Rock build for Mark's Arcade.
Yeah,
and then for my own stuff, I want to prioritize the Moon Patrol cocktail, get that restored. And also, in terms of what's coming up on the channel, we just hit a milestone just this past weekend, a couple days ago. I passed 6,000 subscribers. So we'll do a public live stream to sort of celebrate that. I'll get the Bosconian. Thank you. I'll get the Bosconian down here, and we'll have over 100 about 100 games playable. I think in the basement, because with the bit kit, that kind of is a little bit cheating, but we'll have lots of different options for games to play.
We got a bit kit and a 60-in-1.
Yeah.
Well, we got 2 bit kits. There is no.
25 games.
I own a 60-in-1. I use that as like a test PCB that I'm willing to sacrifice if 12 volts gets put on the 5-volt line. But I want to thank everyone for watching, everyone for participating in the chat. And again, to Papa Sean 69, Kawaru 5, Texas J, YouTube, and Random Billy Bob for their super generous super chat donations. Also to Synthetic Cheetah and Chris Dorr, aka Geach, for becoming new Overtime Arcade channel members. Any final words from the crew here?
What a great name, Geach. It's our old
Did you know? So hold on. Geach, if you guys don't know him, is a legend on Clav. He's also a recurring guest co-host of the Coin Rejects, which is my other favorite podcast about this hobby. And My mother-in-law used to babysit him. So Geach and I have had this connection that we didn't know about. My mother-in-law was his babysitter when he was a little kid.
I think Geach as a name, that's a Simpsons quote.
Is
I'm
it?
pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's our old
okay.
Smellhound Geach. Geach gone to doggy heaven, Mr. Terwilliger. It's from the one where anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So episode 1.
Play that cricket sound effect again. You might need it.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me just.
There you go. All right. Thank you all for watching. Everyone. Pond Pokemon's here. Just showed up. You missed 2 hours and 15 minutes of an episode. Josh O.D. Brown also just showed up at the end.
Yeah,
so.
you also you're skipping. You forgot to. You're saying thanks everyone for watching, and you're about to like do the outro, but you didn't get to talk about where these guys can be found on other channels.
How many ample opportunities for you guys?
No, that's a separate thing that you've always done. We're not changing
where can people watch the Canadian Arcade?
Go me last.
It's a different format. He's not used to it.
Oh my gosh.
It's not in the script.
Jay Peso thinks it's a good show. I would say it was an okay show. It was okay.
It was decent. It was a change.
We're getting used to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Going forward, there'll be less about us and more about the topic.
Do you want to talk about this, Liam, or no?
No, not until I figure something out with that.
Okay.
Someone offering I'm not gonna say no.
All right, I muted him. No risk. We can't trust this guy. Can't trust him. All right, Liam, plug your channel.
Yeah, you can find us. I'm one half of Retrobotics. Hopefully, we'll have some more content coming soon.
Real soon.
Hopefully, there's a couple really cool things in the pipeline, but we'll see if they come to fruition.
Okay, plug your channel.
You can find me on TikTok at @prime_arcade. For a while, I was worried that TikTok was no longer going to be a thing, but we're back, baby. We were gone for 14 hours, but still
Rhythm
here.
is still a dancer.
They shut it down themselves. Anyway.
And I'm Charlie from Overtime Arcade. If you're watching this live stream, you're watching it on my channel. There's also this thing called the Canadian Arcade.
Yeah.
Chance, where can they find the Canadian Arcade?
So I'm one half, the lesser half of the Canadian Arcade on YouTube, youtube.com/the Canadian Arcade. There you'll see Josh Brown and myself doing stupid stuff with arcade games, collections and illustrations.
And hail videos.
And hail videos. They keep us afloat. And on Instagram. We post stuff on Instagram on occasion when we feel like it. We post stuff on YouTube on occasion when we feel like it. Yeah, that's it for us.
All right. I actually got to go to work at the office tomorrow, so we'll wrap it up here. As always, thanks for watching the Coin Jam podcast. Thank you for 2 awesome years. And we're going to have to do one of these later this month. So we'll see you again. Bye.
A message from the Government of Canada.